Picture this, a world frozen in time, vast continents buried beneath towering sheets of ice, their secrets locked away for millennia. But what if I told you that beneath this frozen wasteland lies the remnants of a civilization so advanced, so interconnected, that its very existence challenges everything we thought we knew about human history? Imagine a time when the poles weren't where they stand today, when Earth's axis tilted differently and entire landscapes were swallowed by ice in a cataclysmic shift. This isn't science fiction, it's a mystery written in the glaciers themselves, waiting to be unraveled. For centuries, we've believed that human progress followed a linear path from scattered tribes to modern cities. But what if the truth is far more extraordinary? What if an entire network of ancient societies once thrived in regions now buried under ice, their achievements lost to time? Recent discoveries are turning this idea from speculation into something undeniable. From strange anomalies in glacial cores to inexplicable ruins peeking through melting ice, the evidence is mounting, and it points to a forgotten chapter of our past, one erased by a polar shift so dramatic it reshaped the planet. This video is your ticket to that lost world. We're diving deep into cutting-edge theories, piecing together clues left behind by this ancient network, advanced engineering, shared symbols, and even traces of a global trade system buried beneath the ice. Who were these people? How did they vanish so completely? And what can their story teach us about the fragility of civilization itself? Strap in, because we're about to reconstruct a world before the ice, a world that might just rewrite history as we know it. The journey starts now. The idea that Earth's poles haven't always been where they are today might sound like something out of a disaster movie, but the science behind it is both fascinating and well documented. At the heart of this mystery are two key theories: crustal displacement and true polar wander. Crustal displacement, popularized by scientist Charles Hapgood in the 1950s, suggests that Earth's outer shell can shift dramatically over time, sliding as one piece while the planet's axis remains fixed. Imagine spinning an orange with its peel loose. The fruit inside stays steady, but the skin moves. That's essentially what Hapgood proposed could happen to Earth's crust, potentially relocating entire continents in a geological blink of an eye. Then there's true polar wander, a phenomenon where the planet's axis itself tilts in response to massive changes in weight distribution, like melting ice caps or rising land masses. Picture a spinning top wobbling as its weight shifts. Earth can do something similar over thousands of years. Evidence for this comes from ancient rocks, which lock in the direction of Earth's magnetic field at the time they formed. By studying these rocks, scientists have found that the magnetic poles have wandered dramatically over millions of years, sometimes even flipping entirely. But here's where it gets chilling literally. If the poles shifted rapidly, the effects would be catastrophic. Coastlines would flood as sea levels adjusted, climates would flip overnight, and entire civilizations could vanish beneath ice or water. Hapgood argued that such an event might explain why we find mammoths frozen in Siberia with tropical plants still in their stomachs, or why ancient maps like the Piri Rise appear to show Antarctica ice-free. Whether these shifts happened gradually or in sudden jolts, one thing's clear: our planet's history is far more dynamic than we once thought, and the clues are written in the rocks beneath our feet. Buried deep within Earth's icy archives are silent witnesses to a world long gone, layers of ice, sediment, and fossils that tell a story of climate chaos. Take Greenland's ice cores, for example. These towering columns of frozen history, some stretching back over 100,000 years, contain tiny air bubbles trapped like time capsules. When scientists analyze them, they uncover shocking evidence of temperatures plummeting in mere decades, not centuries. One of the most dramatic examples is the Younger Dryas period, around 12,900 years ago, when Earth abruptly swung back into near-glacial conditions after warming. Temperatures in some regions dropped by as much as 18 degrees Fahrenheit and stayed that way for over 1,000 years. Imagine a world where summers vanished overnight, where forests turned to tundra faster than civilizations could adapt. But how does this connect to polar shifts? The answer lies in the patterns. Sediment layers from ancient lakebeds show sudden changes in plant life and animal populations, aligning eerily with magnetic anomalies in rocks, hints that Earth's poles weren't as stable as we once assumed. In Siberia, perfectly preserved mammoths with undigested buttercups in their stomachs suggest they froze mid-meal, as if caught in an instant climate catastrophe. Even more compelling are ocean sediment cores, which reveal massive influxes of freshwater from melting ice sheets, events that could have disrupted ocean currents and triggered the Younger Dryas cooling. Then there's the mystery of the Carolina Bays, thousands of elliptical depressions stretching from New York to Florida. Some researchers believe these were formed by a barrage of comet fragments around the same time as the Younger Dryas, a cosmic catastrophe that could have destabilized Earth's rotation. Whether caused by impacts, crustal shifts, or both, the evidence paints a picture of a planet in turmoil, one where humans, if they existed in advanced societies, would have faced unimaginable challenges. So what happened to them? Did they vanish beneath the ice, their cities crushed by glaciers? Or did they scatter, their knowledge lost to time? The next clues might lie not in the ice itself, but in the strange artifacts and structures that emerge when it melts, a trail of breadcrumbs left by a civilization fighting to survive Earth's last great upheaval. Stories of a great flood echo through nearly every ancient culture on Earth, not as isolated tales, but as eerily similar accounts of humanity's near annihilation. The biblical story of Noah's Ark mirrors the Mesopotamian epic of Gilgamesh, where a man builds a vessel to survive divine wrath. The Aztecs spoke of a deluge that wiped out the fourth sun, while Aboriginal Australians preserved legends of rising waters swallowing coastal land. Even tribes in the Amazon and remote Pacific islands share versions of this cataclysmic event. These aren't just coincidences, they're fragments of a collective memory, a trauma so vast it etched itself into the oral traditions of civilizations separated by oceans and millennia. Graham Hancock, a journalist and researcher, has spent decades connecting these dots. In his work, he argues that these myths aren't mere allegories, they're distorted records of real events, possibly linked to the Younger Dryas period or polar shifts. Take Plato's account of Atlantis, a technologically advanced civilization swallowed by the sea in a single day and night. Could this be a garbled retelling of a coastline vanishing beneath rising waters? Or consider the Hopi prophecy of the Third World's destruction by flood, which aligns with geological evidence of sudden sea level changes. The consistency is uncanny: water, survival, and a world remade. But why would cultures with no contact share such specific details? One theory suggests these stories stem from a common source, an ancestral civilization that experienced the catastrophe firsthand. Survivors scattering across the globe might have carried these tales, adapting them to local contexts over generations. The Zulu legend of Athlanga, for instance, describes a time when the Earth turned over, a phrase that chillingly parallels scientific theories of crustal displacement. This isn't just about floods. Many myths also speak of a golden age before the disaster, a time of giants, flying machines, and global connectivity. The Hindu texts mention Vimana's ancient aircraft, while the Dogon people of Mali inexplicably knew about Sirius B, a star invisible to the naked eye. Could these be distorted memories of lost knowledge? The search for physical evidence takes us to places like Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, a 12,000-year-old temple complex buried intentionally, as if to preserve it from something. Or to the submerged ruins off the coast of India, where sonar has revealed sprawling structures beneath the waves. The threads are all there, woven into the fabric of our oldest stories. Now, science is beginning to pull them loose, revealing a tapestry far richer and far stranger than we ever imagined. The next step, to look beyond the myths and uncover what lies beneath, both in the earth and under the ice. Rising from the dusty plains of southeastern Turkey, Göbekli Tepe stands as one of archaeology's most baffling enigmas. A sprawling complex of massive stone pillars arranged in circles, each intricately carved with animals, symbols, and abstract shapes. What makes this site extraordinary isn't just its scale or artistry, but its age. Carbon dating places its construction at around 12,000 years old, a time when mainstream science tells us humans were simple hunter-gatherers, barely scraping by. Yet here we have evidence of sophisticated engineering, precise astronomical alignments, and a level of social organization that shouldn't exist for another 5,000 years. Who built this, and why was it deliberately buried under layers of earth, as if hiding it from the world? The pillars themselves are a marvel. Some weigh over 15 tons, hauled from quarries hundreds of feet away without the aid of wheels or domesticated animals. The carvings depict everything from scorpions and foxes to vultures gripping human head, symbols that recur in later cultures across the globe. Even more puzzling is the site's abandonment. Around 10,000 years ago, Göbekli Tepe was carefully backfilled, its towering stones entombed under tons of soil. Was this an act of preservation? A ritual or something more urgent? Climate data from the period offers a tantalizing clue. Around the same time, Earth was emerging from the Younger Dryas' cold snap, a period of violent weather swings and rising sea levels. Could the builders have been fleeing environmental collapse, burying their sacred site to protect it from floods or encroaching ice? Some researchers think so. They point to the vulture stones, which may depict a catastrophic event, a comet strike, perhaps, that aligns with Younger Dryas' impact theories. The symbolism is uncanny. Vultures are often associated with death and renewal, hinting at a cycle of destruction and rebirth. But here's the real mystery. Göbekli Tepe isn't alone. Similar megalithic sites like Karahan Tepe and Nevali Sori dot the region, suggesting a network of interconnected communities sharing knowledge and beliefs. Could these be the scattered remnants of that lost civilization, the ones who fled the polar shift? The carvings at Göbekli Tepe bear striking resemblances to symbols found in ancient Mesopotamia, the Indus Valley, and even the Americas, as if echoing a shared language of survival. If this was just a local temple, why does its imagery resonate across continents? And what other sites lie buried, waiting to rewrite our understanding of human history? The answers might be closer than we think, hidden not under ice, but beneath the very earth we walk on. Beneath the waves off the coast of Gujarat, India, lies a discovery that sends shivers down the spine of every historian: the legendary city of Dwarka. According to ancient Hindu texts, this was the dazzling kingdom of Lord Krishna, a metropolis so grand it was said to have 70,000 palaces made of gold, silver, and precious stones. But around 3,600 years ago, the texts claim it vanished into the sea after Krishna's death. For centuries, this was dismissed as myth until marine archaeologists began pulling artifacts from the ocean floor. Submerged stone walls, pottery shards, and even ancient anchors now confirm a sprawling settlement beneath the waves, its structures eerily aligned with descriptions in the Mahabharata. The most startling find, a massive stone block weighing over 200 tons, precisely cut and fitted, evidence of engineering prowess that defies conventional timelines. Halfway across the world, near Japan's Yonaguni Island, another underwater mystery lurks. Here, a colossal stepped pyramid rises from the seabed, its terraced walls and straight edges so geometrically perfect that skeptics struggle to dismiss it as natural rock. Divers have uncovered what appear to be carved pathways, plazas, and even a stadium-like structure, all submerged since the end of the last ice age. The debate rages, is this the work of human hands or a quirk of geology? But when you examine the angles, the sharp 90-degree corners, the symmetrical staircases, it's hard to ignore the possibility that this was once a thriving hub, swallowed by rising seas as glaciers melted. These aren't isolated cases. From Cuba's underwater Megacity with its smooth stone formations to Indonesia's sunken Gunung Padang, a pyramid-like structure older than the Egyptian pyramids, the oceans are revealing a pattern. Coastal cities built by societies we've long forgotten now rest in watery graves, and the timing is no coincidence. Around 12,000 years ago, as the last ice age waned, sea levels rose by nearly 400 feet in some regions. Imagine the chaos, entire civilizations watching their homes vanish beneath the waves, their stories reduced to flood myths passed down through generations. But here's the twist, many of these submerged sites share uncanny similarities. The stonework at Dwarka mirrors techniques found in Yonaguni, while symbols carved at both sites resemble those in ancient Mesopotamia and Peru. Could these be fragments of a once connected world, a global network shattered by rising waters? The evidence is mounting. Off the coast of Tamil Nadu, divers found a sunken city with a paved road stretching over a mile, flanked by man-made structures. In the Baltic Sea, sonar revealed a stone circle eerily reminiscent of Stonehenge, but underwater. These aren't random ruins, they're the bones of a lost civilization, one that may have mapped the stars, traded across oceans, and built monuments to withstand time itself. What ties them together isn't just catastrophe, but sophistication. The precision of their masonry, the scale of their planning. These weren't primitive societies. They were architects of the impossible, leaving behind clues in the one place we're only now beginning to explore, the ocean floor. As glaciers continue to melt, who knows what other cities might emerge from the depths, waiting to rewrite our past. The search has only just begun. Antarctica, the frozen continent at the bottom of our world, a place so inhospitable that it wasn't even discovered by modern humans until 1820. But what if ancient civilizations knew of its existence long before our history books claim? Satellite images and ground-penetrating radar scans have revealed anomalies beneath the ice that defy easy explanation. Strange geometric patterns, what appear to be towering structures, and even what some researchers argue could be the remnants of massive, ancient buildings, all buried under thousands of feet of ice. These aren't just random shapes. Some formations align with mathematical precision, their right angles and symmetrical layouts screaming against the chaos of natural geology. Then there's the Piri Reis map, a chart drawn in 1513 by an Ottoman admiral, depicting coastlines with impossible accuracy, including what looks like Antarctica's northern edge, but without ice. The most baffling part, modern sonar mapping confirms the contours of this hidden coastline under the ice sheet, matching details on a map made centuries before the continent was officially discovered. How could Piri Reis have known? He himself wrote that his work was based on much older source maps, some dating back to the time of Alexander the Great. Were these copied from even earlier records, preserved by a civilization that walked Antarctica when it was green? Skeptics argue that these anomalies are just tricks of light or glacial movement, but the evidence keeps piling up. In 2016, satellite data revealed a massive, elliptical structure beneath East Antarctica, spanning nearly 150 miles. Its shape is too perfect to dismiss as natural. Then there's the so-called pyramid near the Shackleton Range, a four-sided peak with eerily uniform slopes standing apart from the jagged mountains around it. Geologists claim it's just a nunatak, a wind-carved mountain peak, but its precision fuels speculation. What's truly chilling is the timeline. Antarctica's ice cap formed around 34 million years ago, but the last time its northern coasts were ice-free was possibly as recent as 12,000 years ago, right around the Younger Dryas period. Could humans have lived there, mapping its shores before the ice swallowed everything? The implications are staggering. If even a fraction of these discoveries hold up, we're looking at a rewrite of human history, one where advanced civilizations might have thrived in places we once thought uninhabitable. And with each passing year, as the ice retreats further, who knows what other secrets might emerge from the frozen deep? Among the most tantalizing clues to humanity's forgotten technological prowess is the Antikythera mechanism, a bronze device salvaged from a 2,000-year-old shipwreck near Crete. At first glance, it resembles a corroded lump of metal, but X-ray scans revealed an intricate system of gears, dials, and inscriptions far too advanced for its time. This wasn't just a simple calendar. It could predict lunar eclipses, track planetary movements, and even account for irregularities in the moon's orbit. The precision of its engineering rivals that of 18th-century clockmakers, yet it was crafted centuries before the fall of Rome. How did such sophistication vanish for over 1,000 years? And could this be just one surviving fragment of a much broader technological legacy, most of it lost to time? Equally puzzling is the Baghdad Battery, a set of clay jars dating back to the Parthian Empire around 2,000 years ago. Each contains a copper cylinder housing an iron rod, and when filled with an acidic liquid like vinegar, they produce a measurable electric current. While some dismiss them as mere storage vessels, their design eerily mirrors modern galvanic cells. Ancient texts from the region describe electroplating techniques, hinting that these artifacts might have been used to gild jewelry or create medical treatments. If true, it suggests a grasp of electricity millennia before Volta or Faraday. But here's the unsettling question: what if these weren't isolated inventions, but remnants of a widespread technological network? The Antikythera mechanism's astronomical knowledge aligns with celestial carvings at Göbekli Tepe, while the Baghdad Battery's principles echo descriptions in ancient Indian texts of Vimana, aircraft powered by mysterious energy sources. Even the Great Pyramid's internal shafts, precisely aligned to Orion's belt, imply an understanding of astronomy far beyond what we credit to Bronze Age societies. Could these all be scattered pieces of a puzzle, a global technological web severed by catastrophe? A polar shift offers one chilling explanation. Imagine a world where advanced societies thrived near coasts or fertile plains, regions most vulnerable to sudden flooding or freezing. A rapid crustal displacement or axis tilt could have submerged cities like Dwarka, flash-frozen Siberian mammoths, and buried Antarctic outposts under miles of ice. The survivors, stripped of infrastructure and resources, might have regressed to simpler ways of life, preserving only fragments of their knowledge in myths or rudimentary devices like the Baghdad Battery. Over generations, even these faded into legend. The societal implications are staggering. if a global civilization did collapse overnight, it reshapes how we view human progress. History isn't always a steady climb upward. Sometimes it's a cycle of rise and ruin. The Antikythera mechanism and Baghdad battery aren't just curiosities, they're warnings. They remind us that even the most advanced societies are fragile, their achievements vulnerable to the whims of a planet in flux, and if it happened once, could it happen again? As we uncover more of these artifacts, we're not just piecing together the past, we're glimpsing a possible future. Stretching across the barren expanse of Mauritania lies one of Earth's most enigmatic formations, the Richat structure, often called the Eye of the Sahara. From space, it resembles a massive bullseye, a series of concentric rings nearly 30 miles wide. For decades, scientists dismissed it as a natural erosional oddity, the result of volcanic uplift and wind carving away layers of rock over millions of years. But what if this geological wonder holds a far more tantalizing secret? A growing number of researchers now propose that the Richat structure could be the remnants of Atlantis itself, the legendary city Plato described as concentric rings of land and water. The parallels are uncanny. Plato's account mentions a central island surrounded by alternating rings of sea and land, precisely mirroring the Richat's layout. Even more compelling, the surrounding plains show evidence of ancient riverbeds and lake deposits, proof that this now arid region was once lush and water-rich, just as Atlantis was said to be. But the Richat isn't alone in challenging our understanding of ancient landscapes. Across the globe, LiDAR technology, laser imaging that penetrates dense foliage, is revealing hidden networks of roads, temples, and settlements buried beneath jungles and deserts. In Cambodia, LiDAR uncovered the sprawling metropolis of Mahendraparvata, a vast urban complex swallowed by the rainforest. In the Amazon, it exposed geometric earthworks and interconnected villages, suggesting a civilization far more advanced than previously believed. These discoveries hint at a pattern: civilizations rising in regions now considered inhospitable, their achievements erased not just by time, but by dramatic environmental shifts. The geological record adds another layer of intrigue. Sediment cores from the Sahara show alternating layers of sand and fertile soil, evidence of cyclical climate changes that turned grasslands into deserts and back again. Similar patterns appear in the Gobi Desert and the American Southwest, where ancient flood deposits lie beneath arid surfaces. Could these shifts explain the flood myths shared by cultures worldwide? The Sahara's Wadi Tanzft, once a thriving river system, dried up around 5,000 years ago, forcing populations to migrate, an event possibly immortalized in Egyptian tales of a great drought. Survival in such a chaotic world would have required more than luck. It demanded ingenuity. Cave systems like Turkey's Derinkuyu, an underground city capable of sheltering 20,000 people, suggest our ancestors prepared for catastrophe. Meanwhile, the Nazca lines etched into Peru's desert may have served as ritual pathways to plead with the gods for stable climates. The evidence paints a picture of resilience, of societies adapting to Earth's violent moods. But the biggest question remains: if these civilizations could navigate such upheavals, what else did they know that we've yet to rediscover? The answers might lie not in the stars, but beneath our feet, waiting for the next layer of soil to be peeled away. Hidden within the DNA of modern indigenous populations are genetic markers that tell a story of resilience, echoes of those who survived Earth's most violent upheavals. Take the Sami people of Scandinavia, whose unique genetic adaptations for cold tolerance suggest their ancestors weathered the last ice age in isolated refuges. Or the Khoisan tribes of southern Africa, whose mitochondrial DNA lineages trace back over 150,000 years, making them some of the closest living links to humanity's earliest ancestors. These aren't just isolated threads, they're part of a tapestry connecting us to a time when glaciers reshaped continents and civilizations fought to endure. Linguistics offers another clue. The Ket people of Siberia speak a language unlike any other, a relic of a once widespread family called Yeniseian that may have stretched across Eurasia before the ice split populations apart. Similarly, the Basque language in Europe with no known relatives could be a linguistic fossil, a survivor from a pre-ice world. These linguistic isolates are like time capsules, preserving fragments of vocabulary and grammar that hint at lost connections between now distant cultures. Oral traditions add yet another layer. The Inuit speak of Sela, a spirit governing the weather, whose anger once caused the skies to darken and the seas to rise, a possible memory of volcanic winters or post-glacial flooding. In Australia, Aboriginal stories describe coastlines that vanished beneath the waves, matching geological evidence of rising sea levels 12,000 years ago. The Yuchai tribe of North America recounts a time when the Earth rocked and the sun's path changed, eerily mirroring theories of crustal displacement. These stories aren't just myths, they're living records passed down through generations like a sacred relay. Survival in this chaotic world demanded innovation. Some groups, like the Clovis people of North America, adapted by mastering mammoth hunting, their distinctive spear points found scattered across ancient kill sites. Others, like the Jomon of Japan, turned to the sea, crafting intricate pottery for storing shellfish as glaciers locked away freshwater. These strategies didn't just sustain life, they propelled migration. As ice sheets retreated, humans followed the thaw, their routes etched into the landscape. Genetic studies reveal waves of movement into the Americas via the Bering Land Bridge, across Europe along ice-free corridors, and into Southeast Asia as rising seas created new islands. But how do we piece together this puzzle? Archaeologists wield tools like strontium isotope analysis, which traces the mineral signatures in ancient bones to pinpoint where individuals lived and migrated. Satellite imagery uncovers lost settlements hidden under jungle canopies, while AI deciphers patterns in pottery designed to track cultural exchange. Even ice cores play a role, their layers of ash and pollen revealing the environmental crises our ancestors faced. The story of survival isn't just about endurance, it's about reinvention. Every tool, every gene, every whispered legend is a testament to humanity's ability to adapt in the face of catastrophe. And as we uncover these fragments, we're not just reconstructing the past, we're learning how to navigate an uncertain future. Standing silently under the night sky, Stonehenge's massive stones seem to whisper secrets of the cosmos. This ancient monument isn't just a random arrangement of rocks, it's a precision astronomical instrument. Its pillars aligned to capture the summer solstice sunrise with breathtaking accuracy. But here's the twist. If you'd stood here 5,000 years ago, the stars overhead wouldn't match what we see today. The Earth's axis wobbles over millennia in a cycle called precession, slowly shifting our view of the heavens. This means the celestial patterns ancient builders used to align their monuments no longer fit our modern skies. The Great Pyramid of Giza offers another puzzle. Its narrow air shafts point directly to specific stars, but only as they appeared in 2500 BCE. Orion's belt, Thuban, and Sirius were all part of an elaborate cosmic blueprint, etched in stone by architects who understood the heavens with eerie precision. Why would cultures separated by oceans and millennia obsess over these alignments? The answer might lie in something far more profound than ritual. From Newgrange in Ireland, where the winter solstice sunlight illuminates an inner chamber like a laser, to Chichen Itza's El Castillo, where the equinox sun creates a serpentine shadow slithering down the pyramid steps, these sites functioned as colossal calendars. But they may have also served as waypoints in a global navigation system, using celestial markers to guide travelers across vast distances. The Polynesians, masters of wayfinding, navigated thousands of miles using only the stars. Could an even earlier civilization have done the same on a planetary scale? The most tantalizing clue comes from Göbekli Tepe's Pillar 43, dubbed the Vulture Stone. Its intricate carvings depict scorpions, birds, and a large circle interpreted by some researchers as a snapshot of the night sky around 10,900 BC, including the constellation Scorpius and a possible comet impact. If correct, this would mean ancient stargazers recorded celestial events millennia before mainstream history acknowledges such sophistication. Even more startling, the star patterns on the pillar don't match our current sky. They align with Earth's precise orientation from that era, suggesting these builders didn't just watch the stars, they mapped their slow dance across time. Now consider this: if Earth's poles shifted dramatically during the Younger Dryas, the stars would have appeared to move overnight from an ancient observer's perspective. Monuments aligned to solstices would suddenly be off by degrees, their celestial references rendered obsolete. This could explain why some megalithic sites show signs of reconstruction or realignment, like the multiple phases of Stonehenge, where early timber posts were replaced by stone circles in adjusted positions. Were these cultures frantically trying to recalibrate their cosmic compasses after a catastrophic shift? The implications are staggering. If these alignments reflect a sky before polar changes, they might preserve a lost epoch's astronomical knowledge, a frozen moment in Earth's turbulent history. Even more provocative is the idea that these sites weren't isolated temples but nodes in a worldwide network, sharing standardized measurements and orientations. The Great Pyramid's base dimensions match sacred ratios found in Mesopotamian ziggurats and Angkor Wat's layouts, while Stonehenge's long-foot unit appears in ancient structures from Brittany to Egypt. Coincidence or fragments of a grand design, a forgotten system linking continents under the same stars? As satellite imaging reveals more hidden alignments like the straight line laid tracks connecting mounds in North America to stone circles in Europe, the evidence mounts for a prehistoric internet of sacred sites. Perhaps these weren't just places of worship but beacons, guiding initiates or traders across a world that knew no borders. The next time you gaze at a megalith, remember, you're not just looking at stones. You're seeing a frozen dialogue between earth and sky, a language spoken in solstice light and celestial geometry, one we're only beginning to decipher. Imagine a sky filled with fire, huge chunks of rock and ice streaking through the atmosphere, exploding with the force of nuclear bombs and leaving scars across the landscape that last for millennia. This isn't a scene from a disaster movie. It's a reality Earth has faced multiple times, and the evidence is written in the land itself. Take the Carolina Bays, for example, over 500,000 elliptical depressions stretching from New York to Florida, each one perfectly aligned in the same direction. For decades, scientists debated their origins, but one theory stands out. These bizarre formations might be the aftermath of a fragmented comet or asteroid slamming into Earth's atmosphere around 12,800 years ago, breaking apart and detonating in a series of airbursts so powerful they scorched the ground below. The heat would have been unimaginable, instantly vaporizing forests, igniting wildfires across continents, and hurling debris for hundreds of miles. But the real devastation came after the impact. Dust and soot blotted out the sun, triggering a sudden plunge in temperatures, a nuclear winter scenario that aligns eerily with the Younger Dryas cooling period. Ice core samples from Greenland reveal a thin layer of black carbon right at this time, along with microscopic diamonds and platinum, telltale signs of extraterrestrial impacts. And it wasn't just North America. Similar evidence crops up in Mexico, Syria, and even South Africa, hinting at a global catastrophe. The Clovis people, once thriving across North America, vanished abruptly around this time, their spear points found buried beneath layers of ash and melted rock. Coincidence, or the grim aftermath of a cosmic disaster? Solar flares add another layer to this apocalyptic puzzle. Ancient tree rings show spikes in radioactive carbon-14, evidence of massive solar storms around the same period. A flare powerful enough could have fried early electrical systems if they existed and scrambled Earth's magnetic field, potentially destabilizing the poles. The Carrington event of 1859, the largest recorded solar storm, caused telegraph wires to burst into flames and auroras to appear as far south as Cuba. Now imagine a storm 100 times stronger, striking a world without modern infrastructure. The results would have been catastrophic, wiping out any technology and leaving societies in chaos. Modern science is finally piecing together this cosmic jigsaw. Geologists use LiDAR to map impact craters hidden under vegetation, while astronomers scan the skies for asteroids that could pose a future threat. The European Space Agency's Gaia mission has catalogued over 1 billion stars, helping us predict gravitational nudges that might send comets hurtling our way. Meanwhile, ice cores and sediment layers act as time capsules, preserving traces of past disasters like pages in a history book. The lesson is clear: Earth's climate and civilizations are far more fragile than we'd like to admit. A single cosmic event can rewrite the rules overnight, burying cities under ice or drowning them beneath rising seas. But these disasters also reveal something extraordinary: humanity's relentless drive to survive, adapt, and uncover the truth. As we dig deeper into these ancient scars, we're not just studying the past, we're preparing for the future. Putting the pieces together, a startling picture emerges: a vast, interconnected web of ancient civilizations spanning continents long before recorded history. Picture this network like an invisible thread stitching together sites like Göbekli Tepe, Submerged Dwarka, and the Richat structure, each node humming with activity. Using advanced 3D modeling, researchers can now reconstruct how these distant points might have communicated, traded, and shared knowledge. Imagine trade ships laden with obsidian from Turkey reaching the copper mines of North America, or caravans carrying spices from India to the megalith builders of Europe. The clues are hidden in plain sight: identical spiral carvings in Newgrange and the temples of Malta, matching astronomical alignments across pyramids from Giza to Teotihuacan, and even the same rare materials turning up thousands of miles from their sources. Take the case of Baltic amber, found in Egyptian tombs dating back to 3000 BCE. How did this fossilized resin travel from Scandinavia to the Nile? Or consider the sudden appearance of cocaine and tobacco plants native to the Americas in the mummies of ancient Egypt. These aren't isolated oddities, they're breadcrumbs leading to a forgotten global trade system. Computer simulations now trace potential sea routes using ocean currents, revealing how ancient mariners could have ridden the Gulf Stream from the Mediterranean to the Caribbean, or harnessed monsoon winds to cross the Indian Ocean. Even more intriguing are the so-called megalithic highways, alignments of stone circles and burial mounds stretching from Scotland to the Middle East, possibly serving as both spiritual waypoints and physical navigation aids. Cultural echoes strengthen the case. The flood myths aren't the only shared stories. The motif of a dying and rising god appears in Egyptian Osiris, Mesopotamian Tammuz, and even the Mayas' maize god. Symbols like the swastika, found from Indus Valley seals to Native American petroglyphs, suggest a diffusion of ideas across vast distances. linguistic studies reveal uncanny similarities to the word for star in the Aboriginal Gamaluroi language. Wordy mirrors the ancient Sumerian while the Basque term for sky, Ortsi, resembles the Proto-Indo-European root for dawn, H2 Iusos. Could these be remnants of a proto-language spoken by this lost network? Yet proving this theory faces staggering hurdles. Unlike Roman roads or Silk Route caravanserais, most physical evidence lies underwater or under ice. The rising seas that drowned coastal cities also erased their ports and trade hubs. Even surviving ruins pose riddles. Without written records, we're left interpreting silent stones and scattered artifacts. Skeptics argue that similarities in architecture or myth could stem from parallel development, not contact. After all, humans facing similar challenges might arrive at similar solutions independently. And dating remains a minefield. A single misdated artifact can throw off entire timelines. The biggest challenge, our own biases. Modern minds struggle to conceive of Paleolithic societies as anything but primitive, despite mounting evidence to the contrary. Each new discovery forces us to reconsider what's possible, like the recent finding of 20,000-year-old woven fibers in Spain, hinting at textile industries far older than agriculture. As climate change accelerates ice melt and exposes more ruins, the puzzle gains pieces faster than we can fit them together. The true map of this ancient world may still be waiting, not in libraries, but beneath the next glacier to crack open or the next desert storm to reveal long-buried walls. Until then, the ghostly outline of this network taunts us, a civilization not lost but hidden in plain sight. Mainstream archaeology often greets polar shift theories with raised eyebrows, and for good reason. The scientific method demands evidence, and extraordinary claims require extraordinary proof. Critics point out that while anomalies like Göbekli Tepe or the Piri Rise map are intriguing, they don't conclusively prove a cataclysmic axis tilt or lost global civilization. The absence of direct artifacts, no frozen cities under Antarctica's ice, no surviving technology beyond cryptic devices like the Antikythera mechanism leaves room for skepticism. Renowned institutions like the Society for American Archaeology caution against conflating coincidence with causation, noting that similar symbols or architectural styles across cultures could stem from universal human psychology rather than ancient contact. After all, pyramids emerged independently in Egypt, Mesoamerica, and Cambodia without shared blueprints, but the debate runs deeper than missing evidence. Some scholars argue that polar shift theories risk reviving discredited ideas like hyperdiffusionism, the outdated notion that a single mother culture seeded all advanced societies. This approach, they warn, can inadvertently diminish the ingenuity of indigenous peoples by suggesting their achievements were borrowed rather than homegrown. When researchers like Graham Hancock propose that an advanced civilization influenced hunter-gatherers, it raises ethical questions. Are we projecting modern biases onto the past, assuming progress must follow our linear model? The indigenous archaeology movement emphasizes that oral traditions and local knowledge often get sidelined in favor of sweeping, outsider-driven narratives. Yet dismissing these theories outright carries its own risks. History is littered with ideas once ridiculed, from continental drift to the antimicrobial properties of mold. The discovery of Göbekli Tepe itself shattered the dogma that complex societies required agriculture first. What if polar shifts or cosmic impacts left traces we're only beginning to recognize? The challenge lies in balancing rigor with curiosity, applying Occam's razor without closing doors prematurely. Geophysicists like Dr. Robert Schoch, who dated the Sphinx's erosion to a much older, water-rich climate, argue that interdisciplinary dialogue is key. Geology, climatology, and astronomy might hold pieces to this puzzle that archaeology alone can't see. The ethical stakes are high. Rewriting human history isn't just academic, it reshapes identity. For nations built on colonial narratives, admitting advanced prehistoric societies could upend cultural ownership of heritage sites. Conversely, for indigenous groups whose oral histories speak of lost lands or sky-borne disasters, validation could mean justice. The Maori's sacred Wawananga texts, for instance, describe a time when the Earth turned over, mirroring polar shift theories. Should these traditions be dismissed as myth or investigated as ancestral memory? Perhaps the middle ground lies in humility. The past is a mosaic, and each new discovery adds tiles we didn't know were missing. Whether polar shifts buried civilizations or not, their exploration pushes science to ask better questions. After all, the greatest breakthroughs often start as heresies. What matters isn't clinging to dogma, but following the evidence wherever it leads. Unraveling the past isn't just about digging up artifacts, it's about confronting who gets to tell the story. For centuries, archaeology has been dominated by Western institutions, their narratives often drowning out the voices of those whose ancestors built the very sites being studied. Take the case of the Great Zimbabwe Ruins, a sprawling stone city in southern Africa. When European explorers first encountered it in the late 19th century, they refused to believe Africans could have engineered such sophistication, instead attributing it to mythical figures like King Solomon or Phoenician traders. It wasn't until decades later, amid fierce resistance, that the truth was acknowledged. This was the work of the Shona people, a thriving civilization with advanced masonry and trade networks. The damage, however, was done. The distortion of history had already erased indigenous pride and agency. This pattern repeats globally. In Australia, Aboriginal elders have long spoken of ancient trade routes and astronomical knowledge encoded in songlines, oral maps stretching thousands of miles. Yet mainstream science dismissed these as folklore until modern researchers confirmed their accuracy using satellite imaging. Similarly, the oral histories of Native American tribes, which describe landscapes altered by floods and quakes, were once labeled as myth. Now, geological studies validate these accounts, revealing evidence of catastrophic events like the Missoula floods that reshaped the Pacific Northwest. The irony is stark. The very cultures labeled primitive often preserved truths that modern tools are only now uncovering. The rush to claim discoveries can also lead to exploitation. Peru's Machu Picchu, hailed as a lost city when Hiram Bingham brought it to global attention in 1911, was never lost to the Quechua people who maintained its memory. Yet their connection was sidelined as artifacts were shipped to Yale University, sparking a century-long repatriation battle. Even today, sacred sites face threats from tourism and looters. In Turkey, the tunnels beneath Cappadocia, once refuge cities for early Christians, are now overrun by selfie seekers, their walls eroding under careless hands. The dilemma is clear. How do we balance public access with preservation, curiosity with respect? Some communities are reclaiming their heritage. The Maori in New Zealand have established guardianship models where scientists must collaborate with tribal leaders before excavating. In Canada, the Heiltsuk Nation partnered with marine archaeologists to study a 14,000-year-old coastal village, one of the oldest in the Americas, ensuring their stories guided the research. These partnerships aren't just ethical, they yield richer insights. When linguists worked with Amazonian tribes to decipher petroglyphs, they found the carvings weren't mere art but a complex writing system, appending assumptions about pre-Columbian literacy. The politicization of archaeology cuts deeper than ownership. It shapes national identities. Turkey's government heavily promotes Göbekli Tepe as the cradle of civilization, a symbol of Anatolian pride, while downplaying its connections to neighboring regions. India's push to link underwater ruins to Hindu epics sparks debates about mixing faith and science. Even the term discovery itself is fraught, implying emptiness before outsiders arrive. As glaciers melt and drones map jungles, revealing more hidden sites, the question isn't just what we'll find, but who gets to decide what it means. The future of archaeology hinges on humility. It's not enough to marvel at ancient engineering. We must ask why some voices were silenced in the first place. New technologies like 3D scanning offer hope, allowing virtual reconstructions without disturbing sacred ground. But the real shift is cultural, listening to elders, sharing credit, and admitting that science doesn't hold all the answers. After all, the next great breakthrough might not come from a satellite, but from a story passed down through generations, waiting for the right ears to hear it. And as the Earth yields more secrets, one truth becomes undeniable. History isn't a monologue, it's a conversation, and everyone deserves a seat at the table. Deep in the heart of the Amazon, where dense foliage once hid the Earth from prying eyes, lasers are revealing what human explorers missed for centuries. LiDAR technology, light detection and ranging, has peeled back the green curtain, exposing a labyrinth of ancient roads, pyramids, and even entire cities swallowed by the jungle. Mounted on drones or planes, these lasers fire millions of pulses per second, penetrating thick canopy to map the ground below with centimeter precision. The results are staggering. In Bolivia's Llanos de Mojos, researchers uncovered a network of raised causeways and circular villages spanning thousands of square miles, evidence of a sophisticated society that flourished over 600 years ago. These weren't scattered tribes, but urban planners who transformed wetlands into thriving agricultural hubs. Ground-penetrating radar takes the search deeper, literally. In Norway, scientists used this tech to locate a Viking ship buried beneath a farmer's field without digging a single hole. The radar waves revealed the outline of a 20-meter-long vessel, its wooden hull preserved in the clay, hinting at a chieftain's burial lost to time. Similar breakthroughs are happening in Egypt, where scans around the Great Pyramid suggest hidden chambers and passageways, their purpose still a mystery. These tools are like X-rays for history, letting us peek beneath the surface without disturbing sacred ground. Artificial intelligence adds another layer to the revolution. Machine learning algorithms now sift through satellite images, flagging subtle anomalies, a faint rectangular outline in a wheat field, or a pattern of soil discoloration that might signal buried ruins. In Cambodia, AI helped identify dozens of previously unknown temple sites near Angkor Wat by analyzing vegetation growth patterns linked to underground structures. The speed is breathtaking. What once took decades of painstaking surveys now unfolds in months, with computers crunching data faster than any human team. But behind every technological triumph are the people who make it happen. Take archaeologist Jose Iriart, who led the Amazon LiDAR project. For years, locals told stories of lost cities in the jungle, dismissed as legend until lasers proved them true. Or think of Sarah Parcak, the space archaeologist who uses satellite imagery to pinpoint ancient sites from her office, then trains citizen scientists worldwide to join the hunt through her Global Explorer platform. These researchers aren't just gadget-wielding adventurers, they're bridge builders between past and present, giving voice to civilizations silenced by time. The next frontier, underwater drones mapping submerged ruins, or quantum sensors detecting buried artifacts by their atomic signatures. Imagine a future where augmented reality glasses overlay ancient cityscapes onto modern landscapes, or where DNA analysis reconstructs entire migration paths from a single tooth. The past isn't static, it's a puzzle we're only now learning to solve, one laser pulse at a time. And as technology peels back more layers, we're not just uncovering lost history, we're rewriting it. Few figures embody the spirit of archaeological rebellion like Augustus Pitt Rivers, the 19th century British officer who turned excavation into a science when others treated it as treasure hunting. While his contemporaries smashed through ruins for gold and artifacts, Pitt Rivers insisted on meticulous grids, detailed sketches, and stratigraphic layering methods so revolutionary they earned him the nickname, the father of scientific archaeology. Yet his breakthroughs came at a cost, mocked by peers for his obsessive recording of ordinary pottery shards and animal bones. He funded his own digs, proving that everyday objects could reveal more about ancient lives than any hoard of jewels. His greatest discovery wasn't a relic, but a principle, that patience and precision could reconstruct entire vanished worlds. Then there's Maria Reich, the German mathematician who devoted 50 solitary years to decoding Peru's Nazca lines. Armed with little more than a broom, a ladder, and unwavering determination, she cleared centuries of desert dust from these colossal geoglyphs, risking sunstroke and starvation to prove they weren't random scribbles but a sophisticated astronomical calendar. Local farmers initially thought her mad until her measurements revealed how the lines aligned with solstices and constellations. Her notebooks, filled with complex celestial calculations, forced academia to reconsider what primitive cultures were capable of. Modern trailblazers push boundaries even further. Sarah Parcak, the space archaeologist, scans satellite imagery for hidden ruins, discovering lost Egyptian cities and Viking settlements from her laptop. Her secret, training AI to spot subtle vegetation, changes that hint at buried walls. Yet her most radical idea isn't tech, it's democratizing discovery through her Global Explorer platform, where anyone can analyze satellite photos for potential sites. Already, a teenager in Peru spotted a previously unknown structure this way. But not all pioneers wear lab coats. Semir Osmanagic, the Bosnian-American businessman turned amateur archaeologist, ignited firestorms by claiming Bosnia's Visočica Hill hides ancient pyramids. Mainstream archaeologists dismiss his theories as fantasy, but his crowdsourced digs draw thousands of volunteers, proof that the public craves participation in history's mysteries. What unites these outsiders? A willingness to question dogma. Take underwater explorer Robert Ballard, who found Titanic after academics insisted the search was pointless. His secret weapon, following shepherd trails, ancient trade routes that often led to shipwrecks. Or Graham Hancock, whose polar shift theories may infuriate traditionalists but have inspired millions to rethink human origins. Their stories prove that history isn't just found, it's fought for. And now you can join the hunt. From apps that let you tag artifacts in museum collections to citizen science projects analyzing glacial core samples, the tools are at your fingertips. Who knows, the next great discovery might not come from a PhD, but from you, a curious viewer armed with nothing but passion and a smartphone. The Earth still holds secrets. All it takes is someone willing to look. History isn't just written by experts in lab coats, it's uncovered by curious minds everywhere, including yours. Right now, thousands of amateur historians, students, and everyday enthusiasts are making real breakthroughs, analyzing satellite images from their couches or joining virtual digs that span continents. Platforms like Global Explorer let anyone sift through satellite data to flag potential ruins, turning the search for lost civilizations into a global team effort. In 2017, a teenager in Peru scanning these images spotted what turned out to be a previously unknown Nazca-era structure. proving you don't need a degree to reshape our understanding of the past. For those craving hands-on involvement, organizations like CrowdDNA harness collective power to decode ancient texts or classify artifacts. Imagine logging on during your lunch break to help transcribe crumbling medieval manuscripts or identify pottery shards from a dig in Turkey. Even gaming platforms are getting in on the action. Minecraft's block by block initiative lets players reconstruct heritage sites in stunning detail, aiding preservation efforts from Angkor Wat to Mexico's Chichen Itza. The best part, many of these projects require no prior expertise, just curiosity and a willingness to learn. But citizen science isn't just about crowdsourcing labor, it's about democratizing discovery. Online forums like the Ancient Origins Research Group buzz with debates over enigmatic carvings or anomalous ruins, where a farmer's field photo might spark a scholarly discussion. Open-source tools like NAS, a worldview satellite database, or the University of Arkansas's artifact matching AI put cutting-edge technology in anyone's hands. When a retired engineer in Scotland used free LiDAR software to pinpoint a potential Roman fort under his local golf course, it reminded the world that history hides in plain sight, waiting for fresh eyes. What makes this movement revolutionary isn't just the finds, it's the philosophy. For centuries, archaeology was a gate-kept discipline, its narratives controlled by institutions. Now, a fisherman in India can share ancestral flood stories that guide researchers to submerged cities, or a grandmother in Norway might recognize a Viking rune overlooked by academics. These collaborations reveal history as a mosaic, its pieces scattered across cultures and memories, and that raises deeper questions. If amateurs can unearth truths professionals missed, what else have we gotten wrong? When oral traditions and high-tech tools converge, whose voices should lead the conversation? The discoveries we're making today don't just add to history, they challenge who gets to write it. As glaciers melt and deserts shift, exposing long-buried secrets, one truth becomes undeniable: the past isn't static. It's a conversation, and everyone's invited to speak. We've been taught that human progress is a straight line, an unbroken climb from stone tools to smartphones, where each generation builds on the last. But what if that's not the full story? What if history moves in cycles, with knowledge rising and falling like tides? Consider the Antikythera mechanism, a device so advanced it took modern scientists over a century to decode its purpose. Then it vanished from the record for millennia, only to be reinvented during the Renaissance. Or take Roman concrete, a material so durable it outlasted empires, yet its recipe was lost for 1,500 years until chemists recently cracked its secrets. These aren't just oddities, they're clues that civilization might not always march forward. Sometimes it stumbles. Look at the Dark Ages, when Europe's libraries burned and engineering feats like Rome's aqueducts fell into disrepair. For centuries, people lived among ruins they couldn't replicate, their ancestors' achievements reduced to legend. Even language itself can slip away. Linear B, the script of ancient Mycenaean Greeks, wasn't deciphered until 1952, leaving centuries of history mute. This pattern repeats globally. The Mayas' astronomical precision faded into obscurity, while China's Han Dynasty lost the formula for their legendary crossbow triggers. These resets aren't failures, they're reminders that progress is fragile and preservation isn't guaranteed. Ancient cultures seem to understand this fragility better than we do. The Egyptians built the Great Pyramid to align with Orion's belt, encoding celestial knowledge in stone rather than parchment. The Vedic texts of India were passed down orally for thousands of years, their rhythms designed to safeguard sacred math and science from decay. These weren't just artistic choices, they were survival strategies. When the Library of Alexandria burned, it wasn't just books that vanished, it was entire disciplines from medicine to mechanics. Yet in places like Timbuktu, families secretly preserved manuscripts in chests for centuries, knowing knowledge could outlast empires if protected. What does this mean for us today? In a world where data lives in clouds and servers, we might be more vulnerable than we think. A single solar flare or cyber attack could erase digital archives in an instant, while stone carvings at Göbekli Tepe endure after 12,000 years. The lesson isn't to abandon technology, but to diversify how we store wisdom, combining cloud servers with physical backups, digital encryption with oral traditions. After all, the Aboriginal songlines of Australia have navigated generations without a single map, proving that resilience lies in redundancy. As we face climate shifts and geopolitical upheavals, these ancient blueprints for survival take on new urgency. The next section won't just explore past collapses, it'll arm you with strategies to future-proof knowledge, from crisis libraries to citizen science networks. Because if history teaches us anything, it's that civilizations don't end when the lights go out. They end when the lessons are forgotten, and we're not about to let that happen. The ruins of ancient civilizations whisper warnings across the millennia, not in words, but in the silent testimony of collapsed empires and abandoned cities. When we examine the fate of societies like the Maya, who deforested their way to drought, or the Greenland Norse, who clung to European farming methods as temperatures dropped, we're not just studying history. We're reading a survival manual written in the bones of the past. Today, as CO2 levels soar beyond any point in human existence and glaciers retreat at alarming speeds, these ancient failures echo with unsettling clarity. The difference, unlike the Maya or the Easter Islanders, we have satellites tracking ice loss, climate models predicting tipping points, and the bitter advantage of hindsight. Consider the parallels. The Akkadian Empire, once the world's first superpower, crumbled under a 200-year drought known as the Urban Tomb period, a climate shift now linked to volcanic winters and shifting monsoons. Modern Syria's civil war, sparked in part by a record drought that displaced millions, shows how quickly environmental stress can unravel societies. But here's the crucial distinction. The Akkadians had no way of anticipating disaster. We do. From Venice's flood barriers to the Netherlands' floating cities, some communities are already adapting with the kind of long-term vision that eluded the ancients. The question isn't whether we can avoid their fate, it's whether we'll muster the collective will. Sustainability isn't just a modern buzzword, it's a revival of the oldest wisdom. Indigenous practices like Australia's fire stick farming, which prevented catastrophic wildfires for 60,000 years, or the Incas' terraced agriculture, which turned mountains into climate-resilient breadbaskets, prove that harmony with nature isn't naive, it's necessary. Even the waste not ethos of Japan's Edo period, where nearly everything was recycled, mirrors today's circular economy movement. These aren't relics of primitivism but blueprints for resilience, forged by cultures that understood Earth systems as a web, not a checklist of resources. Yet perhaps the most profound lesson lies beyond practical fixes. The spiritual dimensions of these discoveries reveal something startling. Every collapsed civilization left behind not just ruins but reckonings. The Norse blamed their demise on angered gods, while the Maya inscribed warnings to future generations in their codices. Today, as scientists issue dire reports and activists chain themselves to pipelines, we're having the same existential conversation, not in temples but in boardrooms and at UN summits. The common thread, a dawning recognition that survival isn't just about technology, but about redefining humanity's place in the cosmos. From Peruvian shamans reading climate shifts in llama entrails to Tibetan monks tracking glacier melt through sacred texts, ancient spiritual traditions often encoded ecological knowledge in ritual. Modern environmentalism, with its quasi-religious fervor and apocalyptic prophecies, may be less different than we think. When Greta Thunberg speaks of "our house on fire," she channels the same urgency as the Zoroastrian prophecies of a world consumed by flame unless humans choose righteousness. This isn't coincidence, it's the human mind grappling with the same existential stakes across time. As we stand at the crossroads of another potential collapse, the past offers more than cautionary tales. It offers a vision of what could be. The very technologies uncovering lost cities, LiDAR, satellite imaging, AI, are also tools to build a smarter, more sustainable future. The same interconnectivity that once linked Göbekli Tepe to distant trade routes now binds global climate movements in real time. History doesn't repeat, but it rhymes. And this time, we have the chance to write a better verse. Ancient myths and lost civilizations have a curious way of resurfacing when the modern world feels unstable. Across social media and spiritual circles, you'll find people meditating at ley lines, drawing parallels between Atlantis and climate activism, or interpreting megalithic sites as cosmic energy grids. There's something undeniably magnetic about these ideas, a longing to anchor today's anxieties in the wisdom of a forgotten golden age. Psychologists call this the mythic displacement reflex, the instinct to fill uncertainty with grand narratives. When pandemics, wars, or climate disasters shake our faith in progress, it's comforting to imagine that ancient societies held answers we've since lost. The New Age movement thrives on this hunger for connection. Crystal healers cite Lemurian lore, while eco-activists frame deforestation as a repeat of Easter Island's collapse. Even mainstream environmental campaigns borrow this language. NASA Earthrise photo, for instance, echoes indigenous cosmologies that see the planet as a living entity. But there's a fine line between inspiration and appropriation. While Tibetan monks have tracked glacial melt for centuries using sacred texts, some Western shamanic retreats reduce indigenous knowledge to Instagram aesthetics. The challenge, honoring the symbolic power of these stories without conflating them with literal truth. Skeptics argue that romanticizing the past ignores its harsh realities. No amount of pyramid energy could cure ancient smallpox. Yet dismissing these narratives entirely misses their psychological value. The Hopi prophecy of the Great Purification, which speaks of Earth's upheavals and humanity's reckoning, isn't just a prediction, it's a moral framework urging balance. Similarly, the Norse myth of Ragnarok, where the world is reborn after destruction, mirrors modern resilience theories. These stories aren't facts but tools, mental technologies for processing chaos. Polar shift theories amplify this dynamic, blending science and symbolism into a potent cultural force. When politicians cite ancient climate catastrophes to justify green policies, or when survivalists stockpile supplies citing precursor civilizations, history becomes a battleground for modern ideologies. The economic stakes are real, too. Tourism to sites like Göbekli Tepe has skyrocketed, with local economies rebranding as gateways to the ancients. Meanwhile, fossil fuel lobbyists mock polar shift research as pseudoscience, fearing its implications for their industry. At its core, this tension reveals a deeper truth. How we interpret the past shapes how we navigate the future. Whether seen as cautionary tales or cosmic blueprints, these lost worlds hold up a mirror to our own fragile moment, and the reflection is impossible to ignore. The allure of lost civilizations isn't just a playground for archaeologists, it's a goldmine for opportunists. Walk through any bookstore's history section, and you'll find shelves buckling under the weight of glossy paperbacks promising shocking truths about Atlantis or forbidden knowledge of ancient high-tech societies. Flip through cable channels and you'll stumble on documentaries breathlessly narrating CGI recreations of alien-built pyramids, their dramatic music swelling as they present conjecture as fact. This isn't just entertainment, it's a billion-dollar industry built on blurring the line between mystery and misinformation. Take the infamous Ancient Aliens franchise, which cherry-picks anomalies while ignoring overwhelming consensus, turning nuanced archaeology into a carnival of sensationalism. The cost: a public increasingly skeptical of real science, conditioned to dismiss experts as close-minded, while embracing conspiracy as enlightenment. Tourism operators have perfected this alchemy, transforming speculation into profit. In Bosnia, visitors flock to the so-called Pyramid of the Sun, a natural hill rebranded as a man-made wonder despite geologists debunking the claims. Gift shops sell T-shirts and crystals allegedly imbued with pyramid energy, while guided tours spin tales of ancient power grids. Similar theatrics unfold worldwide, from Mexico's healing vortexes near Teotihuacan to Egypt's secret chambers beneath the Sphinx, where vendors hawk exclusive access to sites professionals aren't even allowed to study. The tragedy isn't just the exploitation, it's the erosion of cultural heritage. At Peru's Nazca lines, drones and rogue tourists have damaged fragile geoglyphs, their footprints scarring 2,000-year-old art in pursuit of Instagram backdrops. Even academia isn't immune. The peer-reviewed paper has become a marketing tool for some, with predatory journals publishing fringe theories for a fee, lending false credibility to ideas like the Bosnian pyramids or hyperdiffusionist fantasies. High-profile figures with questionable credentials leverage media platforms to bypass scholarly scrutiny, their TED Talks and Netflix specials reaching millions while dissenting voices drown in algorithms. The result, a distorted public perception where Graham Hancock's polar shift theories get equal airtime to decades of peer-reviewed climatology. The irony is rich, many condemning elitist academia profit from its very exclusivity, selling books and tickets to lectures that position them as rebels against a rigged system. Responsible storytelling isn't about stifling curiosity, it's about honoring complexity. Documentaries like PBS's Nova or the BBC's Horizon prove you can captivate without caricature, presenting competing theories while clarifying where evidence ends and speculation begins. Museums like Istanbul's Göbekli Tepe Visitor Center use augmented reality to let guests see reconstructions while labeling conjectural elements transparently. Even tourism can uplift. Jordan's Petra by Night uses candlelight and storytelling to evoke wonder without inventing histories, while local guides share Bedouin traditions rooted in lived experience rather than invented mysticism. The line between myth and history has always been porous, but weaponizing that ambiguity for profit risks turning our collective past into a theme park. As we stand on the brink of potentially rewriting human history with genuine discoveries, the stakes couldn't be higher. Will we let the noise drown out the signal, or demand narratives as rigorous as they are riveting? The answer will shape not just what we believe about our ancestors, but how future generations remember us. Now, as we sift through the rubble of claims and counterclaims, a pattern emerges from the chaos. From Antarctic anomalies to submerged cities, from celestial alignments to genetic echoes, the evidence whispers of a past far more interconnected and turbulent than textbooks admit. But separating that signal from the static requires more than fascination. It demands intellectual courage. The final pieces of this puzzle aren't buried in the earth alone. They're hidden in plain sight, waiting for those willing to see not just what they want to believe, but what the evidence insists is true. The evidence for a pre-Ice Age network isn't scattered like random puzzle pieces, it's more like a mosaic, where each discipline adds a tile that gradually reveals a bigger picture. Start with geology. The sudden layers of black carbon and nanodiamonds found in younger Dryas sediment cores across multiple continents don't just hint at a catastrophe, they scream it. These markers, identical from North America to Syria, suggest a global event, likely a fragmented comet that could have destabilized climates and triggered the very polar shifts we've been exploring. Now, layer in archaeology. Sites like Göbekli Tepe and Submerged Dwarka share uncanny similarities. Advanced masonry, astronomical alignments, and even matching symbols, despite being separated by thousands of miles and years. Coincidence or fragments of a shared blueprint? Genetics adds another thread. When researchers traced mitochondrial DNA lineages, they found population bottlenecks around 12,000 years ago, points where human diversity suddenly narrowed, as if survivors were regrouping after a disaster. The Ket people of Siberia, the indigenous Australians, and certain Native American tribes all carried genetic markers that suggest isolated refuges during this chaos. Then there's linguistics. Isolates like Basque and Yeniseian have no known relatives, linguistic orphans that might be remnants of a pre-shift language family. Even the flood myths, ubiquitous across cultures, start to look less like folklore and more like collective trauma when viewed alongside geological evidence of post-glacial sea level rises. But here's where it gets compelling. When you line up these disciplines side by side, the overlaps are startling. Take the Peary Rise map, which accurately depicts Antarctica's ice-free coastline. Geologists confirm that the last time this coast was visible was roughly 12,000 years ago. Meanwhile, ice cores from Greenland show temperature plunges at the same time, while oral histories from the Zulu to the Maori describe the Earth tilting. These aren't isolated dots, they're connections woven across time and space, yet gaps remain. No smoking gun, like a submerged metropolis under Antarctica's ice, has been found. Critics argue that similarities in architecture or myth could stem from parallel human innovation rather than a lost global network, and dating anomalies persist. A single misdated artifact can throw entire timelines into question. But the strength of this theory isn't in perfection, it's in explanatory power. Why do we find cocaine, a New World plant, in Egyptian mummies? How did Baltic amber end up in Bronze Age Mesopotamian tombs? A pre-Ice Age trade network offers a plausible answer, one that orthodox timelines struggle to dismiss. The most tantalizing part: this isn't just about rewriting history, it's about rethinking resilience. If civilizations rose and fell before, their survival strategies might hold clues for our own uncertain future. From Göbekli Tepe's buried temples to the Inuits' ice-adapted genetics, these aren't just relics, they're roadmaps. And as glaciers melt and technologies improve, we're on the brink of uncovering even more. The next piece of the puzzle could be hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone to look. These discoveries don't just rewrite history, they shake the foundations of identity itself. For generations, nations have built their origin stories on the idea of linear progress, painting themselves as the pinnacle of human achievement. But what happens when ruins older than the pyramids emerge in Turkey, or when underwater cities in India predate the earliest known civilizations? Suddenly, the narratives we've clung to, the neat timelines in textbooks, the pride of firsts claimed by cultures, start to unravel. Take Egypt's long-held status as the cradle of monumental architecture. Göbekli Tepe's existence, predating the Great Pyramid by over 6,000 years, forces a humbling question: how many other firsts are simply the oldest we've found so far? This reckoning extends beyond academia. Indigenous communities, long dismissed as primitive by colonial histories, now see their oral traditions validated by science. The Aboriginal stories of coastal lands swallowed by rising seas, once mocked as myth, align perfectly with geological records of post-glacial flooding. Similarly, the oral histories of the Choctaw and Cherokee, which describe ancient migrations triggered by climate chaos, gain new credibility as ice cores reveal the abrupt climate shifts they endured. These aren't just corrections to the historical record, they're acts of justice, restoring voices silenced by centuries of Eurocentric dogma. Yet embracing this uncertainty requires something rare in our polarized world: humility. It means admitting that the past is not a fixed monument but a shifting landscape, where every discovery can overturn assumptions. The Vikings weren't the first Europeans in North America. The DNA of the now extinct Beothuk people in Newfoundland shows contact with Europeans centuries before Leif Erikson. The Silk Road wasn't the only ancient trade network. The presence of Andean coca in Egyptian mummies hints at transoceanic exchanges we're only beginning to trace. Accepting these gaps isn't a weakness, it's an invitation to wonder. Imagine the breakthroughs still waiting beneath our feet or under the ice. The next decade could unveil cities buried by the Sahara's shifting sands, or libraries preserved in volcanic ash like Pompeii. With Lidea peering through jungles and AI decoding lost scripts, we're on the brink of revelations that might dwarf what we've uncovered so far. The real challenge isn't technological, it's psychological. Can we let go of the need for certainty and embrace the thrill of the unknown? This isn't just about the past, it's about how we navigate the future. If history teaches us anything, it's that civilizations rise and fall, but curiosity endures. The Maya's astronomical precision, the Indus Valley's urban planning, the Polynesian star-guided voyages all emerged from cultures unafraid to question, explore, and adapt. In a world where dogma so often divides, the pursuit of lost knowledge offers a rare common ground, the shared joy of discovery. So as the ice melts and the deserts speak, remember, the greatest chapters of our story may still be buried, waiting for those willing to dig. The ruins of ancient civilizations aren't just relics, they're mirrors reflecting our own precarious moment. When the Maya abandoned their towering cities amid drought, or when the Greenland Norse clung to failing farms as temperatures plummeted, they faced crises eerily similar to ours: climate volatility, resource scarcity, and the fragility of interconnected systems. Today, as wildfires scorch continents and glaciers retreat at alarming speeds, their stories shift from academic curiosities to urgent cautionary tales. But here's the crucial difference: unlike the Maya, we have satellites tracking deforestation in real time, climate models predicting tipping points, and the bitter gift of hindsight. The question isn't whether we'll face collapse, but whether we'll heed the warnings etched in stone and ice. Consider Venice, a modern city battling rising seas with hydraulic barriers inspired by ancient Roman flood control. Or look to Peru, where engineers are reviving pre-Incan, Waru agriculture, raised fields and canals that once turned barren highlands into fertile grids resilient to droughts and floods. These aren't nostalgic throwbacks, they're strategic adaptations, proof that the past holds blueprints for survival. Even our language reveals this dawning awareness. Terms like collapsiology and resilience engineering have entered scientific lexicons, framing societal fragility as a solvable equation rather than inevitable fate. Yet the parallels go deeper than environmental strife. The fall of Rome wasn't just about barbarian invasions, it was exacerbated by political polarization, wealth inequality, and a breakdown of shared purpose. Sound familiar? Social media algorithms today mirror the divisive rhetoric that fractured the Roman Senate, while economic disparities rival those of pre-revolutionary France. History's lesson here isn't doom, but diagnosis. Societies crumble when they prioritize short-term gains over long-term cohesion. The antidote might lie in unexpected places. Iceland's response to its 2008 financial crash, crowdsourcing a new constitution via social media, echoes the Norse Althing, one of history's oldest participatory democracies. Sometimes the oldest ideas are the most revolutionary. What makes this moment unique is our unprecedented capacity for course correction. The Akkadians had no warning before drought strangled their empire, but California now uses AI to optimize water allocation during shortages. The Easter Islanders lacked alternatives when they deforested their homeland, but reforestation drones can plant trees 100 times faster than human hands. Technology alone isn't salvation, though. It's the marriage of innovation and ancient wisdom that sparks real resilience. Indigenous fire management practices, once dismissed as primitive, are now frontline defenses against megafires in Australia and the Amazon. Perhaps the most profound insight from lost civilizations is their enduring legacy of hope. The builders of Göbekli Tepe buried their temple not in defeat, but as a time capsule for future generations. The Library of Alexandria's flames couldn't erase humanity's thirst for knowledge, which blossomed again in Baghdad's House of Wisdom and Renaissance Europe. Our species has weathered ice ages, supervolcanoes, and pandemics not through brute strength, but through collective ingenuity and cultural memory. As we face our own planetary reckoning, that's the ultimate takeaway. Collapse isn't inevitable, but adaptation is non-negotiable. The next chapter of human history won't be written by fate, but by choices we make today, choices informed by the whispers of those who came before us. Their ruins are more than monuments, they're guideposts. From the frozen depths of Antarctica to the sunken ruins off India's coast, our journey has uncovered a world that defies conventional history, a world where poles shifted, civilizations flourished in unlikely places, and entire networks of knowledge vanished beneath ice and waves. We've traced the footsteps of forgotten builders who aligned their temples with stars we no longer recognize, decoded myths that may hold kernels of cosmic catastrophes, and stood at the edge of discoveries that could rewrite humanity's story. The evidence is scattered but undeniable. Beneath the familiar narrative of progress lies a far richer, messier, and more mysterious past. What makes these revelations so thrilling isn't just the possibility of lost technologies or global trade routes, it's the humility they demand. For centuries, we've assumed our ancestors were simpler, their achievements smaller, but each new find, from Göbekli Tepe's astronomical precision to the Antikythera mechanism's gears, chips away at that arrogance. History isn't a straight line, it's a spiral where knowledge rises, falls, and resurfaces in unexpected ways. The polar shift theory, once dismissed as fringe, now gains traction as ice cores and sediment layers reveal Earth's turbulent adolescence. The flood myths woven into every culture's fabric no longer seem like mere allegories but echoes of shared trauma. Even the gaps in the record speak volumes, hinting at chapters torn away by time. As the explorer Thor Heyerdahl once said, "Boundaries, I have never seen one, but I have heard they exist in the minds of some people." That spirit of curiosity over dogma, of wonder over certainty, is what drives this search forward. The past isn't a locked vault but a living conversation, one that invites us to question, reinterpret, and sometimes unlearn. So the next time you hear a myth about a drowned city or stare at a megalithic puzzle, don't dismiss it as fantasy. Ask instead, what if the stars on that ancient pillar map a sky from 12,000 years ago? What if the ruins under the Sahara hold the key to a global network? What if history, as we know it, is just the tip of the iceberg? The adventure doesn't end here. Every melted glacier, every scanned jungle, every decoded script brings us closer to the next revelation. And that's where you come in. Hit like if this journey sparked your curiosity. Subscribe to join us as we peel back more layers of the past, and drop your wildest theories in the comments, because the best discoveries often start with a conversation. Who knows, the next great clue might come from you. Until then, keep questioning, keep exploring, and remember, the Earth still has secrets to share. The only limit is our willingness to